How fast can a life be destroyed? Constance Dawson learned the answer the moment they dragged her through the dirt like she was already dead. The afternoon sun burned over Cannon City, Colorado, turning the street into a stage where everyone watched the misery of one young woman. Constance stumbled as the ropes bit into her wrists. Her blue dress, once proper and neat, hung in torn pieces. Her hair blew wild around her face, catching on her tears and dust. She tried again to speak, but her throat was dry, her voice shaking. "I didn't do anything," she cried, but the men dragging her did not slow. Wilson, the tallest of them, jerked the rope harder. His scarred face twisted in anger. "You were standing over Jenkins with a knife in your hand," he said. "That's all the proof we need." The crowd gathered, forming a wide circle. Some watched in silence, some whispered. A few turned away, but none stepped forward to help her. To them, she was a stranger. She had only come to town 3 days ago to start work as the new school teacher. Now she was being marched toward a hanging tree like a criminal. Her knees hit the ground. Pain shot up her legs. The rope tightened again as Wilson yanked her forward. "Get up!" he snapped. Constance tried, but her legs trembled. She felt her strength slipping. Fear pressed on her chest like a weight she could not lift. Then another voice rose above the noise. "That's far enough." The street went quiet. Even the wind seemed to stop. A tall man stepped out from the shadow of the Spur Saloon. His black hat shaded half his face, but the town knew him well enough. Yates Norwood, former Texas Ranger. Hard man, quiet man. A man no one wanted to cross. He walked slowly toward them, every step measured, calm, dangerous. Wilson spat in the dirt. "This ain't your business, Norwood." Yates stopped a few feet away. His blue eyes looked sharp as ice. His duster coat shifted just enough to show the silver handle of his revolver. "Untie her," Yates said. His voice was not loud, but it carried through the whole street. "Before I do it for you," a whisper ran through the crowd. Some stepped back. Wilson's hand went to his gun. "You backing a murderer now?" "My principles," Yates said, "include giving folks a fair trial, something you seem to forget when you smell blood." Constance felt her breath catch. She knew of Yates Norwood. Everyone did. Some said he had killed more outlaws than they could count. Some said he lived alone in a cabin because he couldn't stand the world anymore. But standing here, facing Wilson without fear, he looked like the only man in Cannon City who still cared about justice. "She killed Jenkins," Wilson argued. "We found her right there." "Being near a body doesn't make her a murderer," Yates replied. "And you don't get to be judge and hangman at the same time." Wilson stepped forward. "You willing to die for a stranger?" Yates smirked. "Are you?" Silence fell again. Wilson looked at his men. They looked uncertain now, shifting from foot to foot. The crowd began to murmur. Yates had changed everything without drawing a weapon. Wilson cursed under his breath and shoved Constance toward Yates. She fell to her knees again, arms shaking. Before she could catch her breath, Yates was beside her. He pulled a knife from his boot and cut the rope clean. "Easy," he said softly. "You're safe for now." Her wrists throbbed with pain. His hand brushed her raw skin, gentle, steady. Constance blinked back tears she didn't want him to see. Wilson pointed a finger at Yates. "You'll regret this." Yates stood, placing himself between Constance and the mob. "Wouldn't be the first time someone told me that." He turned to the crowd. "The woman stays with me until the marshal returns. Anyone with a problem can come talk to me directly." No one stepped forward. Slowly, one by one, the crowd broke apart. Wilson and his men finally backed away, furious but unsure. Their boots kicked up dust as they mounted their horses and rode off. When the street emptied, Yates looked down at Constance. "Can you stand?" She nodded, though her legs wobbled. He steadied her with a hand on her arm, guiding her toward his horse. She looked up at him, trying to understand why he had helped her. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me yet," Yates replied. "Wilson won't forget what happened today. We need to get you somewhere safe." He helped her onto the chestnut stallion, then swung up behind her. His arm circled her waist to hold her steady. She felt his strength, solid and warm, and for the first time in hours, she breathed a little easier. They rode out of town toward the hills. Constance held the saddle horn tightly, her heart racing as she looked back at Cannon City fading behind them. She didn't know what waited at Yates's cabin. She didn't know if she could ever clear her name. She didn't know if Wilson would return with more men. But she knew one thing for certain. If Yates Norwood hadn't stepped forward, she would already be dead. And now their fates were tied together in ways neither of them yet understood. That happens when danger follows you even into the arms of the only man who tried to save you. Constance realized she was about to find out. Yates's cabin stood quiet among tall pines, the sunset painting long shadows across the clearing. When he helped her down from the horse, Constance's legs trembled. She wasn't sure if it was fear or exhaustion. But Yates held her steady without a word. His touch was firm, steady, grounding. Inside, the cabin was warm and clean. A stone fireplace glowed faintly. A sturdy table stood in the center of the room. Everything looked simple but cared for. Not at all what she expected from a lone cowboy. "Sit," Yates said, pulling out a chair for her. She sank down gratefully, her wrists still burning. Yates stoked the fire and set a pot to warm. He moved with quiet confidence, as though he had protected others before, as though danger wasn't new to him. "When's the last time you ate?" he asked. "Yesterday morning," she said softly. "Everything happened so fast." He nodded and set beans and cornmeal to cook. As the scent filled the room, her stomach twisted with hunger. Yates glanced at her hands and picked up a damp cloth. "May I?" he asked. She nodded. He took her hands gently and wiped the dirt from her wrists. When the cloth touched the raw rope marks, she hissed in pain. Yates paused. "I'm sorry," he murmured. "They did this to you?" "Yes," she whispered. "They didn't listen to a word I said." He looked up at her. His eyes were steady, full of something she couldn't read. Anger, maybe, but not at her, at the men who hurt her. "Tell me what really happened, Constance," he said, handing her a warm bowl once she was comfortable. "Start from the beginning." She ate slowly as she recounted everything. The stagecoach from Denver, her new job as the school teacher, Mr. Jenkins cornering her in the general store, the anger in his eyes when she refused him, and finding him bleeding in the boarding house hallway. "I picked up the knife," she said, her voice breaking. "I was trying to help him, to stop the bleeding. That's when everyone rushed in. They didn't give me a chance to explain. They just grabbed me, dragged me out, calling me a murderer." Quote. Yates listened without interrupting, his jaw tightening each time she revealed another detail. "Jenkins was a troublemaker," he said finally. "He liked using his power over people, especially women." Constance wrapped her arms around herself. "They were going to hang me without a trial." "Not while I was standing there," he said. She swallowed hard. "Why did you help me?" "You don't know me." "I know innocence when I see it," Yates said simply. "And I know a mob when I see one too." He took her empty bowl, washed it, then handed her a cup of warm tea. "Get some rest," he said. "You can take the spare bed behind that curtain." "But Wilson won't come out here tonight," Yates said. "He's brave with a crowd, not so much without one." She stared at him. "I'm still afraid." "You're safe here," he said. "I give you my word." His voice was steady, so steady she almost believed she could breathe again. Constance cleaned herself up with a basin of warm water. Yates offered her one of his shirts to sleep in. It hung down past her knees, smelling faintly of pine and saddle leather. When she lay down, exhaustion swept over her, but sleep didn't come. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Jenkins' lifeless body, saw Wilson's furious face, felt the rope cutting into her wrists again. A soft knock at her curtain made her sit up. "Miss Dawson," Yates said gently, "I heard you stirring. Are you all right?" She hesitated. "I can't sleep." After a moment, he asked, "Would you like some chamomile tea? My mother swore by it." She smiled weakly. That would help. They sat together at the small table again, the oil lamp casting a gentle glow. Yates had loosened his shirt, revealing a scar along his collarbone. His hair was damp from washing at the basin. For the first time, he looked less like the legendary Texas Ranger and more like a man who had lived through too much. "Why did you leave the Rangers?" she asked before she could stop herself. He stared into his tea. Too much death. Too many men buried that didn't deserve it. Constance watched the way his shoulders shifted. He carried loneliness the way other men carried guns. "And yet you still help people," she said softly. He glanced up. Old habits die hard. The corner of her mouth lifted. "Thank you for believing me." He held her gaze, his voice low. "I didn't save you out of charity, Constance. I saved you because something told me you were worth saving." Her breath caught. Before she could answer, a knock came at the cabin door. Yates froze. His hand went to his gun. Constance's heart thudded painfully. "Wilson?" "No," Yates said quietly, listening. "They'd come in force. This is just one person." He stood, cocked his gun, and opened the door a few inches. Deputy Riley stood outside, hat in hand. "Norwood," the young deputy said. "I need to talk to you. And the woman, if she's here." Yates's voice was steel. "If you're here to arrest her—" "I'm not," Riley cut in. "But Wilson has been stirring trouble all evening. He's trying to gather men. You need to keep her hidden. And you need proof she didn't kill Jenkins." "Proof?" The word hit Constance like a spark of hope. "What kind of proof?" she asked. "Something that shows someone else was there," Riley replied. "Something the marshal can't ignore when he returns." Yates nodded slowly. "Then at sunrise, we ride into town." Constance's eyes widened. "Into town?" "Yates, they'll recognize me." "Not if they don't know it's you," he said. "I'll figure something out." Riley glanced back toward the dark road. "Be careful. Wilson won't wait long." When the deputy left, Yates shut the door and looked at Constance. "We might only get one chance," he said. "But I'm going to clear your name." "Why?" she whispered. His answer was quiet, honest, unguarded. "Because losing you isn't something I'm willing to risk." A warmth spread in her chest, fear mixed with something deeper, something dangerous, something she couldn't name yet. But dawn was coming, and danger was coming with it. What do you fight for when the whole town stands ready to call you guilty? Constance Dawson discovered the answer the moment she decided to stop hiding and face the danger beside Yates Norwood. The next morning, Yates prepared a disguise. He handed her a pair of worn trousers, a loose shirt, a vest, and a hat big enough to hide half her face. Constance looked at the clothes, unsure. "I'll look ridiculous," she said. Yates shook his head. "You'll look alive. That's what matters." He turned away as she changed, though she felt his presence just a few steps behind, steady and watchful. When she finally tucked her hair under the hat, he looked her over from head to toe. Something flickered in his eyes. "How do I look?" she asked. "Like trouble," he said softly. A warmth bloomed in her chest. They rode into Cannon City just after sunrise. Yates kept her close, his frame shielding her from view whenever someone passed. She felt the tension in him, the readiness, the awareness of danger, but she also felt protected. Their first stop was the sheriff's office. Deputy Riley was inside, sorting papers. He nodded at Yates, then gave Constance a long look. "So that's your cousin from Texas, huh?" he asked. "Sure is," Yates replied. Riley didn't argue. Instead, he leaned forward. "I've been doing some thinking. Jenkins had enemies, and not small ones. Wilson owed him money. His sister complained about Jenkins bothering her. Others had land disputes. Someone wanted Jenkins gone." "Then let's find who," Yates said. Riley lowered his voice. "Wilson came in last night demanding you both be arrested. He's scared of something. That means you're close." Yates nodded and motioned Constance outside. "Next stop, Jenkins' room," he said. At the boarding house, Mrs. Hollister blocked the stairs with her solid frame. "You again," she snapped. "And who's that with you?" "My cousin," Yates said. Marshal Evans will want a full report. I need to look at Jenkins' room." Mrs. Hollister hesitated, then stepped aside with a sharp sniff. The room was quiet, sunlight streaming through the window. The dried blood on the floor marked where Jenkins had fallen. Constance swallowed hard, memories surging back. "That's where I found him," she whispered. Yates knelt beside the stain. "You didn't turn him over?" "No, I only touched his neck." "That helps," he murmured. He checked the desk and found piles of deeds, money notes, and one opened letter. He read it, frowning. "Wilson's ranch was going to be taken if he didn't pay up," Yates said. Constance's breath caught. "So he had a reason." "More than one," Yates said. Before she could respond, footsteps sounded in the hall. Mrs. Hollister appeared again, but this time with Wilson at her side. Wilson's eyes narrowed as he stared at Yates. "You got a lot of nerve being here." Yates stood with calm steadiness, just looking for the truth. Wilson stepped closer. "Truth is simple. That schoolteacher killed him." "Funny," Yates said, "since the doctor says the wound came from someone taller and stronger, someone like you." Wilson's face twitched. "You're making things up," he growled. "Am I?" Yates held up the letter about the foreclosure. "Jenkins was going to take your ranch, and everyone knows he bothered your sister." Wilson stepped toward him. "Watch your mouth." Yates didn't move. "Why were you at the saloon arguing with Jenkins the night he died?" Mrs. Sullivan heard everything. Quote, Silence fell. Wilson's jaw clenched. He turned and stormed out of the room, muttering something under his breath. When they were alone again, Yates whispered, "He's scared. That's good." But Constance didn't feel good. Her heart thudded painfully. Wilson knew they were close. And a desperate man was a dangerous one. They left the boarding house and walked through town toward the general store for supplies. But inside, someone unexpected greeted them. Victoria Sullivan, the elegant widow who owned the saloon. "Mr. Norwood," she said, her voice smooth. "A word." She glanced at Constance, not recognizing her beneath the disguise. Outside, Victoria leaned close to Yates. "You need to be careful," she whispered. "Wilson and his men were at my saloon last night. They plan to come for you both tonight. They won't wait for the marshal." Fear stabbed through Constance's chest. "What did you hear?" Yates asked. "They're scared you'll find the truth. Jenkins met someone the night he died. They argued. Jenkins told the man he would ruin him. And the man said, 'Not if I ruin you first.'" Quote, "Did you see who it was?" Yates asked. "No, only their silhouettes by the window." "Wilson." Constance knew it deep in her bones. Yates nodded. "Thank you." They rode out of town fast. Yates didn't push the horse hard until Cannon City disappeared behind them. Then he leaned close to her. "We don't have much time. Wilson will come tonight." Constance's hands trembled. "What do we do?" "We prepare," Yates said. "And we fight smart." Back at the cabin, Yates set lanterns around the clearing, loaded his weapons, and placed rifles where he could reach them fast. Constance tried to steady her breathing. "Yates," she whispered, "I'm scared." He stopped and faced her. His hands came up slowly, resting on her shoulders. "Constance, look at me," he said. "Nothing is going to happen to you, not while I'm breathing." Her breath caught. Something warm spread through her chest. "You trust me?" he asked. "Yes," she whispered, "more than anyone." Dusk settled over the hills. The wind picked up. An owl hooted in the distance. Then came the sound of horses. First one, then 3, then 6. Yates moved beside her, shotgun in hand. "They're here," he said. Wilson's voice echoed from outside. "Norwood, send the woman out, or we burn that cabin down." Constance felt her knees weaken. Yates pulled her behind him. "No one is burning anything tonight," Yates shouted back. Wilson laughed. "You can't protect her forever." "Maybe not," Yates said calmly, "but I can protect her long enough." A shadow moved in the trees. A shot rang out. Constance gasped. But it wasn't Yates. It wasn't Wilson. Deputy Riley stepped into the clearing, gun raised. "That's enough," Riley shouted. "Wilson!" Drop your weapon!" Wilson spun around, just as Riley fired another warning shot at his feet. In moments, Wilson's men lowered their guns, fear spreading through them like wildfire. "Wilson," Riley said, stepping forward, "I'm arresting you for the murder of Harold Jenkins." "You have no proof!" Wilson shouted. Riley held up a blood-stained handkerchief. "This was in Jenkins's room, with your initials on it." Wilson's face went white. It was over. Riley cuffed him. The mob broke apart, and the night finally went quiet. Inside the cabin, Constance trembled as the fear left her body all at once. Yates knelt in front of her, lifting her chin gently. "It's over," he said. "You're safe now." She burst into tears, the weight of everything crashing down. Yates pulled her close. "I've got you." She clung to him, shaking. "You saved me, twice." He held her tighter. "I'd do it 1,000 times." Slowly, she lifted her face, eyes shining with tears. Yates brushed a strand of hair from her cheek, his touch slow and careful. "Constance," he whispered, I care about you more than I should." Her breath caught. "I care about you too." He leaned closer, his voice low. "Tell me to stop, and I will." She didn't. Instead, she rose onto her toes and kissed him, a soft, trembling kiss filled with everything they had survived. Yates's arms wrapped around her, pulling her close as if she were something precious. And for the first time since she arrived in Cannon City, Constance felt safe. She felt home. Their future waited beyond the danger, beyond the fear. And tonight, in a quiet cabin in the foothills, it began with one promise in the dark.